There is a space within you, deeper than thought, beyond all noise. It has been there before you were born and will remain when all else fades. But you have forgotten how to touch it. You search for peace in the future, in accomplishments, in validation, in relationships, in wealth. You run, thinking that when you reach a certain point, when circumstances align just right, then, only then, you will be at peace. But the future never arrives. It is a mirage on the horizon. The mind tells you that something is missing. It creates problems just to keep itself busy. It says you need more time, more effort, more struggle, more answers. But what if the easiest way to find inner calm is not through effort, but through surrender? What if peace is not something you achieve, but something you notice? A man once sat by a river, watching the water flow. He was desperate to calm his mind. He had read books, practiced techniques, tried to force stillness, but the more he tried, the louder his thoughts became. Frustrated, he threw a stone into the river and watched the ripples spread. And then something remarkable happened. He stopped trying. He simply watched. The river did not need effort to flow. The leaves did not need to struggle to drift. In that moment, he realized he was the river, not the mind is full of ripples, thoughts, worries, desires, but beneath them the river remains still, deep, unwavering. You do not need to control the ripples. You only need to see them for what they are. Thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fall, yet who is watching? In the midst of chaos, there is always a silent witness within you. It does not react. It does not judge. It simply is. This is your true self. And the moment you become aware of this, even for a second, peace enters, not as something created, but as something recognized. A woman once asked a master, "How do I find peace?" The master smiled and handed her a cup of tea. "Be fully here," he said. She took a sip, and for the first time she truly tasted it. She felt the warmth, the flavor, the weight of the cup in her hands, and she understood. Peace is not in the future, it is in this sip, in this breath, in this moment. Stop searching, stop waiting for life to be different before you allow yourself to be still. Right now, take a breath. Feel it. You are already home. The mind is always chasing something, a future event, a better version of yourself, a perfect moment that never quite arrives. It whispers, "When I have more time, when I achieve success, when I fix everything, then I will finally be at peace." But the future is an illusion. It is a story the mind tells itself, a horizon that keeps shifting as you move towards it. Peace is never in the future, because the future does not exist. Only this moment does. Imagine a traveler searching for home, wandering through cities, valleys, and mountains, convinced that peace lies in the next destination. He follows maps, listens to guides, but no matter where he goes, something feels incomplete. Exhausted, he finally stops. He sits by a quiet stream, takes a deep breath, and for the first time he notices the beauty around him. The sound of water, the warmth of sunlight on his skin, the simple joy of being still. And in that moment, something shifts. He realizes he has been home all along. This is what happens when you stop seeking peace in the future and recognize that it has always been here. The problem is never that peace is missing. The problem is that you are not present enough to see it. The mind is like a restless bird always flying to the next branch, never landing long enough to feel at rest. But if you pause, if you allow yourself to fully be where you are, a deep stillness begins to emerge. Think about the last time you truly felt calm. Was it because you achieved something great, or was it because, for a brief moment, your mind became silent? Maybe it was while watching a sunset, listening to music, or holding a loved one. In those moments, you were not thinking about the future, you were simply there. And that is why peace arrived. A young woman once asked a wise teacher, "Why do I always feel anxious?" The teacher handed her a glass of water and said, "Hold this out in front of you." She did. After a few minutes, her arm started to ache. "It's getting heavy," she said. The teacher nodded. "The water is not getting heavier. You're just holding on too long." The future is like that glass. The longer you hold on to it, the more it weighs you down. The moment you set it down, relief comes, not because the water has changed, but because you stopped carrying it. Your mind tells you that you must solve everything first, that peace comes only after struggle. But what if that is just a trick? What if the easiest way to find inner calm is to stop believing in a future that does not exist and start experiencing the life that is already happening? Right now, in this moment, there is no past to regret, no future to chase. There is only breath, only awareness, only now. And that is where peace has been waiting for you all along. The mind is a master of illusion. It convinces you that something is always missing, that you are incomplete, that there is always a problem to solve before you can rest. It does not matter how much you achieve, how much you fix, how much you acquire. The mind will always create the next obstacle. It thrives on problems, not because they are real, but because its very nature is to seek, to analyze, to keep moving. And as long as you believe everything it says, inner peace remains just out of reach. A man once lived in a house with a constantly dripping faucet. The sound irritated him day and night, disrupting his sleep, distracting him from work. He spent years trying to fix it, replacing pipes, calling plumbers, even moving to a new home. But wherever he went, he always noticed another sound, another irritation. Finally, one day, exhausted from chasing silence, he sat down and simply listened. He did not resist the drip, did not try to change it, did not make it a problem, and in that moment it stopped bothering him. The sound was still there, but his suffering was gone. This is how the mind operates. It creates problems that only exist because you resist them. It finds noise in silence, struggle in ease, lack in abundance. It tells you that you need more success, more love, more time, when in reality, you already have everything you need in this moment. The mind feeds on dissatisfaction. If there is nothing wrong, it will invent something. It will remind you of past mistakes, warn you of future dangers, or tell you that you are not enough. But these are just thoughts. They are not reality. Imagine a person standing in the ocean, complaining that the waves are too strong. He fights them, pushes against them, exhausted from resisting. But the ocean does not stop moving. The waves do not obey. The moment he stops fighting, he floats. The water holds him. Nothing has changed except his resistance. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the absence of resistance to them. A child falls while learning to walk and simply gets up again. She does not see it as failure, does not create a story about it, does not analyze what it means about her worth. She just continues. The mind, however, takes small inconveniences and turns them into lifelong suffering. A single thought spirals into 1,000 more, creating a world of stress that only exists in the mind itself. But what if you did not believe every thought? What if you simply observed the mind without identifying with it? The moment you do, its power dissolves. Thoughts may come, but they pass like clouds in the sky. The sky does not chase the clouds or try to hold on to them. It remains vast, open, untouched. You are not your problems. You are the sky. When you realize this, the mind loses its grip and peace becomes effortless. The human mind is conditioned to believe that peace is something to be achieved, something that requires effort, struggle, and discipline. It tells you that stillness must be earned, that you must first solve all your problems, fix all imperfections, reach a certain milestone, and only then will you be worthy of rest. But this is an illusion. Peace is not something distant, hidden behind layers of hard work. It is here now, waiting for you to stop striving and simply notice it. A man once sat by a river, watching the water flow effortlessly. He had spent years trying to calm his mind, practicing meditation, reading books on spirituality, seeking teachers, but the more he tried, the more restless he became. One day, out of frustration, he threw a leaf into the river and watched as it floated gently, carried by the current without resistance. Something shifted in him. The leaf did not struggle to move forward. The river did not fight to flow. Everything was happening naturally, and for the first time he understood peace is not found through effort, but through surrender. The mind, however, resists this truth. It clings to the belief that control is necessary. It wants to grasp, to fix, to direct everything. It fears letting go. But have you ever noticed that the most peaceful moments in life come when you're not trying to control anything at all? Think of a time when you watched a sunset, felt the warmth of the sun on your skin, or listened to the sound of rain. In those moments there was no effort, no struggle, just being. And that is why peace was there. A young woman once asked a wise teacher, "How do I find peace?" The teacher handed her a glass of water and said, "Shake it." She did, and the water became cloudy and disturbed. "Now put it down." She set the glass on the table, and slowly the water became still again. "This is your mind," the teacher said. "When you stop shaking it with effort, with worry, with trying to fix everything, it naturally becomes clear. Effort creates turbulence. Struggle creates noise. The mind believes that doing more will lead to peace, but in reality, the more you try, the further away you move from it. A bird does not force itself to fly. It simply opens its wings and allows the wind to carry it. A flower does not strain to bloom. It simply responds to the light. The river does not push itself forward, it flows. Everything in nature moves effortlessly. Only the human mind believes it must fight to be at peace. The easiest way to find inner calm is to stop trying so hard. The moment you stop forcing, stop resisting, stop searching, you will realize that peace was never missing. It was only hidden beneath layers of unnecessary effort. Let go, breathe, be, and suddenly peace is there. Not because you created it, but because it was always waiting to be seen. The mind is like a vast sky, but most people only notice the passing clouds. Thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fall, yet beneath it all there is something unchanging, something deeper than thought itself. But the mind does not want you to see this. It keeps you engaged, distracted, lost in stories, convincing you that you are your thoughts, that they define you, and so you identify with them, believing that every worry, every fear, every fleeting idea is real. But who is the one noticing these thoughts? Who is the one aware of them? A man once sat in meditation, struggling with a storm of thoughts. He felt restless, consumed by worries, regrets, and anxieties, frustrated. He approached his teacher and said, "My thoughts are overwhelming. I can't silence them." The teacher smiled and said, "Look at the sky. Do you see the clouds?" The man nodded. "Now try to stop them from moving." The man stared at the sky, but no matter how hard he tried, the clouds continued to drift. "This is the nature of the mind," the teacher said. "You do not need to stop the thoughts. You only need to realize that you are not them. Thoughts are like clouds, always changing, shifting, appearing and disappearing, but the sky does not chase them, does not try to hold on to them. It simply allows. You are not the clouds, you are the sky itself. Vast, open, untouched by the passing storms. The moment you recognize this, a deep calm arises. Not because the thoughts have disappeared, but because you have stopped identifying with them. A woman once stood by a river, watching leaves float downstream. She reached in and grabbed one, holding it tightly, and as she did, the water rushed around it, causing resistance, turbulence. Then she let go. The leaf moved effortlessly with the current, carried by the flow of life itself. This is what happens when you stop gripping your thoughts so tightly, when you stop believing that you must control them. The moment you step back and simply observe, the resistance disappears. The mind will always produce thoughts, that is its nature. But not every thought is true. Not every thought is worth engaging with. You are the observer of the mind, not its prisoner. Most suffering does not come from what happens, but from the endless commentary the mind adds to what happens. A single event occurs, but the mind turns it into a story, adds meaning, creates fear, builds an identity around it. But none of that is real, it is just thought. The shift is simple but profound. Instead of being lost in thoughts, you notice them. Instead of reacting, you observe. And in that moment, you become free. Thoughts come and go, but who is watching? The watcher is always at peace, always still, untouched by whatever the mind creates. That is who you truly are. And when you realize this, inner calm is no longer something to seek. It is simply what remains. The moment you become aware of something, its power over you begins to fade. This is the great secret the mind does not want you to know. Awareness dissolves turmoil not by force, not by resistance, but simply by shining a light on it. A thought, when unnoticed, can shape your entire reality. It can create fear, insecurity, and stress as if it were absolute truth, but the moment you see it for what it is, just a thought, it loses its grip. It is like waking up from a dream. A man once walked through a dark forest, convinced he was being followed. Every rustling leaf, every distant sound sent a wave of fear through him. His heart pounded, his breath quickened. In his mind, danger was real. Then, suddenly, he lit a lantern. The moment the light spread, he saw the truth. There was no threat, only the wind moving through the trees. His fear was based on an illusion, on a story created by his mind. The forest had never changed. Only his perception had. This is how the mind works. It creates shadows, then convinces you they are real. It tells you stories of failure, regret, and fear, and because you are unaware, you believe them. But the instant you bring awareness to a thought, truly see it, without judgment, it no longer controls you. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to push it away. You simply need to see it for what it is, just a passing movement in the mind. A woman once carried a heavy bag wherever she went. It was filled with unnecessary things, but she never questioned it. She had grown so used to the weight that she believed it was just part of life. One day someone asked, "Why don't you put it down?" She stopped, looked at the bag, and for the first time realized she had a choice. When she let go, nothing was lost except the burden she had unknowingly carried. Most people walk through life carrying unnecessary burdens, thoughts they never question, fears they never examine, worries they never let go of. The mind feeds on these things. It survives by keeping you entangled in stories, keeping you identified with every passing thought. But when awareness enters, the cycle is broken. You realize that you are not the weight, not the baggage, not the fears. You are the one who has been carrying them. And if you can carry them, you can also set them down. Peace is not something to be created, it is something revealed. It appears the moment you step back and simply observe. The moment you stop struggling against the movement of your own thoughts, there is no need to silence the mind, no need to control it. Awareness alone is enough. Like the man in the forest, you will see that the danger was never real. Like the woman with the heavy bag, you will see that you were free all along. The mind is always running, always searching for something beyond this moment. It tells you that peace is somewhere else, hidden in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next phase of life, and so you chase after it, believing that once the right conditions appear, once everything is in place, then stillness will come. But this is a trick, a mirage in the desert that vanishes the moment you think you've reached it. The present moment, however, has never been absent. It is always here, always complete, waiting for you to notice it. A man once stood in front of a locked door, believing that behind it lay everything he was looking for: happiness, clarity, freedom. He searched for the key, turned every stone, looked for answers in books, in others, in distant lands. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not open the door. One day, exhausted, he sat down, and in his stillness he saw something he had never noticed before. The door had never been locked. It had been open the whole time. He had just never tried to walk through. This is what happens when you stop searching for peace outside yourself and realize that it has always been here. The mind distracts you with endless thoughts, keeping you lost in time, in past regrets, in future worries. But the moment you return to the present, truly, fully, peace is immediate. It is not something to be earned. It is simply something to be seen. A woman once rushed through her day, always busy, always moving. There was never enough time, never enough space to breathe. She believed that if she just finished everything on her list, if she got through all the tasks, then she could finally rest. But the list never ended. The next day there was more to do. Then one afternoon, as she was drinking tea, something happened. She took a sip and, for the first time, truly noticed it. The warmth, the taste, the moment itself. And in that small, quiet pause, peace entered, not because anything had changed, but because for once she was truly there. The present moment is not hidden. It is not waiting to be found. It is always here, beneath the noise of the mind. The only reason it seems absent is that you are really here to meet it. When you worry, you are in the future. When you regret, you are in the past. But when you pay attention, truly pay attention, you see that this moment is all there is, and all there ever will be. There is nothing to chase, there is nothing missing. Life is not waiting for you to catch up. It is happening now in the breath you are taking, in the sights before you, in the sounds around you. And the moment you realize this, peace stops being something distant. It becomes what it always was. Something as simple, as natural, as effortless as this very breath. No matter how chaotic life becomes, there is always a stillness beneath it. It does not matter how loud the world is, how fast events unfold, how many things demand your attention. There is a silent presence within you that remains untouched. But most people never notice it because they are too focused on the noise. They identify with every thought, every emotion, every problem, as if that is all they are. Yet just beneath the surface of all experience there is something deeper, something unshaken, something that has never been disturbed by the storms of life. A man once stood by a lake on a windy day. The surface of the water was wild, waves crashing, ripples moving in every direction. But when he looked deeper beneath the surface, he saw something remarkable. The deeper waters were completely still. The storm above had no effect on the depths below. And in that moment he understood something profound. The mind is like the surface of the lake, restless and ever-changing, but deep within there is a stillness that nothing can touch. Most people live only on the surface, identifying with every passing wave. A stressful thought appears and they believe it completely. A moment of sadness comes and they think it will last forever. But the truth is, emotions are just waves, thoughts are just ripples. They come and go, but beneath them, the deeper self remains undisturbed. This is the part of you that has never been anxious, never been afraid, never been lost. It has always been there, waiting to be noticed. A woman once found herself in the middle of a busy street, overwhelmed by the noise, the traffic, the rush of people moving in every direction. She felt trapped, suffocated by the energy around her. Then she stepped into a quiet park, just a few steps away. The moment she entered, everything changed. The noise was still there, but it was distant. She was no longer inside it. She had stepped into a space of calm, and suddenly the chaos no longer affected her. This is what happens when you shift from identifying with the surface level of life to resting in the stillness within. The world does not have to change. The circumstances do not need to be different. The storms can rage, the noise can continue, but once you recognize the silence beneath it, you are no longer caught in the storm. You become the observer, the witness, the presence that watches without being disturbed. There is nothing you need to do to find this stillness. It is already here. It is present in the pauses between thoughts, in the quiet moments when you are not grasping for the next thing. It does not need to be created, only noticed. No matter how much the surface of life moves, the depths remain unchanged. And the moment you realize this, peace is no longer something to be achieved. It is simply what you are. The search for peace is often the very thing that keeps it out of reach. People look for it in achievements, in relationships, in future moments that have not yet arrived. The mind creates an illusion that peace is somewhere else, always just beyond where you are now. It convinces you that once you fix everything, once you become someone better, once you reach a certain destination, then you will finally feel calm. But this is the great misunderstanding. Peace is not in the future. It is not waiting for you in a different version of your life. It is already here, hidden in the space between thoughts, in a stillness that has always been present beneath the noise of the mind. A man once wandered through a vast desert, endlessly searching for water. He walked for miles, exhausted, thirsty, desperate to find relief. The more he searched, the more lost he became. Then, in his weariness, he finally stopped. And in that moment of stillness, he noticed something he had missed all along. Just beneath his feet, hidden in the sand, was an underground spring. He had been walking over the very thing he was looking for the entire time, never realizing that what he sought was already there, waiting to be uncovered. This is how it is with inner calm. It is not something to chase, it is something to notice. It has always been present, but the mind is so busy searching outside that it does not recognize what is already within. The more you seek peace elsewhere, the more elusive it seems. But the moment you stop running, the moment you become still, it reveals itself effortlessly. A woman once spent years struggling with anxiety, always trying to escape her thoughts. She tried to control them, to push them away, to replace them with better ones, but no matter how hard she tried, the struggle only made things worse. Then, one day, she heard something that changed everything. You are not your thoughts. She did not need to silence them, did not need to fight them. She only needed to step back and observe. And when she did, something shifted. The thoughts were still there, but they no longer controlled her. She saw them as passing clouds, just movements in the mind, and in that realization, A deep calm arose, not because the thoughts had stopped, but because she had stopped identifying with them. This is the key. Peace is not found by controlling the mind, but by stepping outside of it. Thoughts will come and go, emotions will rise and fall, but none of them define you. You are the awareness that sees them, the space in which they appear and disappear. When you recognize this, everything changes. You no longer need to struggle, no longer need to chase after something that was never missing. Peace is not a distant goal. It is the silent presence that has been with you all along, waiting for you to simply turn and see it. The journey to inner peace is not one of effort or attainment, but one of realization. It is not found in the future, nor in a perfect version of yourself. It is already here, beneath the noise and the chaos, hidden in the stillness between thoughts, in the quiet moments when you are fully present. The mind, with all its distractions, fears, and desires, often pulls you away from this truth, convincing you that peace is something you must chase or work for. But peace, true peace, arises when you stop searching, when you stop struggling, when you simply allow yourself to be. You are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are the awareness that sees them, the silent observer that remains untouched by the turbulence of the mind. The moment you recognize this, the moment you step back from the story the mind is telling you, peace is already there. It has always been there. The key is not in changing the world around you, but in changing your relationship with it. When you stop resisting, when you stop identifying with the noise, you uncover the stillness that has been waiting for you all along. In this moment, you do not need to be anywhere else. You do not need to fix anything. You do not need to be more than you already are. The peace you seek is already within you, ready to be embraced. The journey is not about arriving at some distant goal, but about waking up to what has always been present. The calm beneath the storm, the clarity beneath the noise. And when you realize this, you will see that you have never been far from peace. It was always just a breath away.